GB News has conducted an undercover sting operation aimed at exposing the true scale of Britain's migrant crisis.
Now, as part of the operation, Patrick Christys came face to face with the people smugglers organising channel crossings from Calais. Take a look.
We've been given a location to meet a human trafficker and we are on our way there now. We are 16 minutes away. There's a lot of people. I mean, maybe they're meeting him as well, really. Bear in mind how brazen this guy is, right? So he puts his WhatsApp phone number on TikTok. He's not afraid of the law. He doesn't care. He's not afraid of getting caught. Hello. How are you? Are you okay? You've sent me a location to say I should meet you here.
No speak English.
You don't speak English. It's just you spoke English when you messaged me before, didn't you? They are the human traffickers who are bringing people across. We're going to hand all of this over to the French police and see if anything can be done about it. Another human trafficker has sent me a live location, which is just a few hundred metres down this road. Someone who works with me will come and pick you up. Give him 1,500 euros so you can go on this trip. He's also sent a voice note.
Okay, Batra Habibi, 10 minutes coming, my friend. Okay.
I'm Patrick Christys, I'm from GB News, and you are a human trafficker, aren't you? Yes. Why are you bringing people illegally to Britain? Why are you bringing people illegally to Britain? You know, when people die in the Channel, do you feel any kind of conscience about that at all? Do you feel bad about that at all? Or not? No? You don't? No? So, all right, we're going to have to get out of here. We just had glass bottles thrown at us. So, that's that. Okay, well, yeah, we just had a glass bottles thrown at us, and I think it's probably best if we get out of here. Okay. All right. Well, what we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Yeah, we're being pelted by stuff. Get a move on. Fine? Okay. Oh. Okay. Well, last time I was here, no one was filming us back, and there wasn't this kind of level of aggression that we see from some of them.
Well, the Conservative MP for Fareham and Waterloo, Suella Braverman, joins us now. Suella, thank you for coming into the studio this morning. First and foremost, your reaction to what we've just seen there from Patrick, because, of course, it just shows how extensive this scourge is in northern France.
Absolutely. Well, Patrick and GB News deserve a huge amount of credit for busting the myth on the reality of this migrant crisis. It just shows what a farce our asylum system has become. There are violent, organised, serious criminals who are playing our system. They are making a lot of money on the backs of others to get into our country illegally. And it's not true to say that all of these people are vulnerable, persecuted individuals fleeing torture. No, what Patrick and you are all showing is that these are very determined, deliberate, and criminal people who are breaking our laws.
These are violent, aggressive young men. I mean, we know we haven't shown you the full details, but Patrick faced a lot of violence and a lot of personal threats, and is still doing so online. These are the people, the vulnerable young men of fighting age, I know it's a cliche now, but are coming into our country and being put in hotels like the one we've been discussing all week, like the one in Epping. Do you have sympathy for the people in Epping who are protesting outside their hotel?
These are gangsters. That was the word I was looking for. These are gangsters. That's what Patrick has kind of exposed. I do have sympathy for the people protesting. I was looking at the footage. A lot of them are mums and families, dads, children are really furious about what's happening in Epping, but it reflects a concern across the country. People are scared. People have had enough of illegal migrants breaking into our country and harming our women and girls and ruining our communities. And that's not racist. That is honesty.
Because that's the accusation. As soon as you say that we are protecting our women and girls, that's racist to say that.
Yeah, and that is a way to gaslight the British people and shut down the debate. That's what the lefty establishment wants us to do. They want to gag us into silence, but we need to keep standing up and calling out the truth. That's why, as long as it's peaceful, those protests should have the right to express their very legitimate concerns.
Nigel Farage said yesterday that Britain is on the brink of collapse, I think in part because of these protests we're seeing, in particular in Epping. Are you concerned about the level of violence we're seeing there? Have you condemned that? Will you condemn that violence, not just from counter-protesters, but also we've seen people in masks throwing things at the police, some officers injured. Do you fear that could spread across the country?
Well, I think we are living in a bit of a tinderbox at the moment, and what happens is when fury and frustration spill over, people feel they need to take action, and so they will start with peaceful protests. But unfortunately, that can attract people who are not peaceful, and it can attract thugs, and then you get counter-protests, and then you get violence, and then you get an uncontrollable situation when it comes to civil disorder. That's criminal, and the police need to step in. But it's not a very it's not a very big step to take from one to the other. That's why we need to be very, very careful. That's why we need to get a grip on the migrant crisis. People have had enough. They're furious. They're feeling powerless. They're feeling insulted, and they want to take action. They feel like they're being ignored.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee. And you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
OK, Suella, this morning we have heard that the government's latest plan after smashing the gang is now freezing the assets. How do you think that's going to play out with the very angry people we are seeing outside migrant hotels, and will it work?
No, it won't work. It's more tweaking, it's more technocratic, meaningless, blah, 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 as I like to say. It's something for the government to say when an incident happens, so it can look as if it's doing something. But I know GB News viewers won't be fooled by it. Unfortunately, it won't make any difference because this government is unwilling to take the radical and necessary changes which are needed to fix this problem.
And that change, you think, should be leaving the ECHR? Do you know, I get a sense, Suella, that it's a matter of sort of how, not if, we leave the ECHR? And you've put out this policy paper yesterday. Do you have any confidence that that could be taken on by even your political rivals in the coming years?
Well, you're absolutely right. I don't think it's any longer a question of whether we should leave, because we've been rehearsing that argument for quite a few years. I was the first Conservative minister to call for it publicly in 2022. I was largely vilified for doing so, but even now, 3 years on, it looks like the Conservative Party policy will shift in that direction in the next few months. We need to talk about how, and my paper sets it out. I encourage your viewers to look it up, and it's called How and Why to Leave the ECHR.
Just quickly, within the last few minutes, we've heard from the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. He's been speaking on the issue of illegal migration and the government's crackdown. Got a clip we can play you now.
Today, I'm announcing the first sanctions anywhere in the world that goes after those who engage in irregular and illegal migration. It's going after the men in suits that sit behind this evil trade. It's going after those who engage in providing fake passports, those who provide the dinghies, the engines, the enablers, the accountants, the lawyers. And tomorrow, when you see those designations, you will see them span jurisdictions. You will see individuals named, public officials, for example, who behave corruptly to prosecute this trade. We are using our sanction regime and encouraging others in Europe and the G7 to join us to bear down on this illegal trade.
Now, Tony Smith told us that this won't make a jot of difference, former head of Border Force, because many of the people don't actually have any banks in Britain. These sanctions won't really apply to them. And we've just heard David Lammy there referring to the lawyers this will target. It's your contention, isn't it, that actually the lawyers are benefiting from our legal system? This won't make a difference either.
Well, Tony Smith is a good man. I know him, and I've benefited from his sage advice in the past. But he's right. This announcement won't make any kind of difference. It's dealing with the symptom rather than the cause of the problem. And these are highly networked, well-resourced and sophisticated smuggling gangs which span jurisdictions and operate in different countries. Very complex networks. They can really, many of them won't have a bank account in UK jurisdictions.
How do you freeze a bank account in Baghdad? I mean, good luck.
Right, exactly. And the fact that, I mean, mentioning the lawyers is interesting. A lot of lawyers, unfortunately, aid and abet this evil trade. They are unscrupulous, unprofessional, and in breach of their professional standards. The regulators should be taking that action against them to strike them off, or they should be enforced against to stop them practicing or purporting to be lawyers. But again, a lot of this, it comes down to actual political will to make sure the enforcement action takes place. And very often, there are human rights claims that are used as defences.
Suella, I mean, your paper, which is very, very impressive about leaving the ECHR and the power that Brussels still has over the United Kingdom, it's a wonderful piece of work. But however, there are countries that are still in the EU and the ECHR, Greece, Poland, Italy, that seem to be able to protect their borders without the fuss we have over here. So is it a failing of both your government and this current government that we're not standing up to the ECHR and the EU like some other countries are?
Well, there is a bit of a distinction between us and the other countries. We don't just have the ECHR, we also have the Human Rights Act in a way that other countries don't. So that kind of puts rocket boosters on the ECHR's application in the UK. We also have a very activist judiciary. So we have, unfortunately, too many politicised judges in this country who are pro-migrants and they want to allow asylum seekers in. Other countries have that to a lesser degree. But I would also say, largely, other European countries are struggling with their migration crisis. This is a global migration crisis. And when I was Home Secretary, I used to speak to other interior ministers around Europe. They were all struggling and grappling with the same crisis that I was. And, you know, you could look at numbers, but largely no European country has really succeeded. I would say maybe Greece has to a degree, but largely the European Union has failed to curb this migration crisis.
Sorry, at the last hour, we played Name the Shadow Cabinet bingo with our panel. They couldn't name anyone, apart from one perhaps. Is it a bit embarrassing for you that you're having more of an impact with a policy paper than many of your shadow cabinet colleagues are managing to do so after a year in their positions? You have to concede a lot of the Tory party hasn't had any cut-through in the last year. What more needs to be done to get that message across?
Listen, there's no denying that the Conservative Party is struggling right now in the polls. We're in third place generally. We're not even reaching 20% in the polls. And if there were a general election tomorrow, our party would do very badly. People are still angry with the Conservative Party. People are not listening to the Conservative Party. So we need to do something that has an impact. I think it's about policy. I think we need to have robust policies that answer the frustrations of people who are taking to the streets in anger and fury and fear. And we need to have bold policies like leaving the ECHR and how to do it with credibility, not just fall into the same trap that we've fallen into over the last 14 years, which is saying things but not meaning them and not delivering them.
This is what people are saying. The messages coming in from people here. I just want to put this one to you, Suella. This is from Jem, who lives in your constituency. She says, please ask Suella about the illegals coming into Waterlooville. She's saying there's been a leak from Havant Council. She's a woman. She's worried. She does not want them here. She goes, I'm not racist. I just don't want these undocumented young men coming to my area.
And wow, thank you very much, Jen. Is it Jen?
Jem.
For writing in, because I, like her, share her fear. And there's been a proposal put forward by the Home Office to accommodate 35 asylum seekers in the heart of Waterlooville. And it would be totally inappropriate for that town because of the lack of resources, the lack of facilities to support these people. It would also, I believe, pose a public safety risk. Havant Borough Council, which is led by Labour and the Lib Dems, failed to object to this proposal. And I've launched a petition in the last few days. In 2 days alone, 7,000 people have signed this petition. We are urging Havant Borough Council to object to the Home Office plans, and I've written to the Home Secretary urging her to withdraw her plans. We have to stand up to this. And I'm urging people to stay calm, but to voice their concerns, and it's not racist to do so.
Just very quickly, so before we leave, last week, Zia Yusuf called you a traitor and referred to you and your former cabinet colleague Robert Jenrick in the same way. Have you spoken to figures in Reform about that jibe, telling them they need to sort of put a cork in it?
Listen, I mean, everyone's going to have opinions. As far as, Zia Yusuf hasn't held public office. He's quite a novice in politics. He's never held any serious role that is involving national security. And all of a sudden, lots of people, particularly online, have become have-a-go experts on a very complex issue of national security. They can throw around puerile insults, but the reality is that, of course, the Afghan leak was a catastrophic mistake by the Ministry of Ministry of Defence, and the last Conservative government. We've got to apologise for that. It should never have happened. However, bearing in mind my own involvement, I make no apology for my actions during that instance. I make no apology for following the terms of a court order. A super injunction was issued. Did I agree with it? No, I think it was too draconian and too extreme, but I had to follow the terms of a court order. I followed the Official Secrets Act, which is not to disclose sensitive information. I don't apologise for that. But more importantly, I make no apology for disclosing sensitive information relating to national security, because if I had done it or anyone else had done it, people would have been killed. British agents, British soldiers would have been put at risk, potentially fatally. Our enemies would have had advantageous information to use against us. And the whole framework underpinning our national security and how sensitive information is controlled would have come crashing down. Anyone with serious experience working with our agents, working with our defence sector and managing sensitive information knows that you cannot just expose sensitive and secret information just because you want to. Parliamentary privilege is definitely a concept. It would be open for me now to go into Parliament today and disclose all of the information that I have been privy to in my career as Home Secretary and Attorney General. I'm not going to do that because people might be killed if I did that. So this is about fine judgment and balancing various factors. I don't make an apology for following the law and making a decision to keep people safe.
OK, so I'm sorry, I know we said we could talk to you all day, so many, but thank you for coming in and being straight talking. We so rarely hear that from politicians. Jem has just been in touch again, or someone responding to Jem's message. She goes, she feels that politicians are are putting their political careers now before the safety of British voters, and in particular women and girls. What would you say to them?
I agree. Some politicians. Listen, if the government were serious about fixing this migrant crisis, it would announce today that it was going to pull out of the ECHR, that it was going to detain and deport illegal arrivals, that it was going to put a freeze on new asylum applications. That would be a starter for 10. That would actually go some way to solving this problem. We are having a massive influx of people breaking into our country illegally because they know we are a soft touch. They know they can use our laws against us, and that fundamentally the rights of the law-abiding, common sense, patriotic majority like Jem are disregarded.
Okay, Suella Braverman, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.